Most men never realize they are already inside the game before they even notice it exists. The moment you start explaining yourself, chasing clarity, or trying to be understood, you've stepped onto the board, and the rules are no longer yours. Women don't play this game consciously the way people imagine. It's not planned. It's instinctive, psychological, automatic. And the trap works precisely because it feels natural. The first move is always subtle. A pause that lingers a second too long, a look that suggests interest but never confirms it. A question that seems innocent but shifts the frame. Nothing obvious, nothing aggressive, just enough uncertainty to make you lean forward mentally. And the moment you do, the balance tilts. Not because you're weak, but because attention follows tension. And whoever controls tension controls direction. Here's what most men misunderstand. The game isn't about manipulation, it's about positioning. Whoever is least invested in the outcome gains leverage. Whoever explains loses altitude. Whoever reacts reveals structure. And women are extremely sensitive to shifts in emotional posture, even when they couldn't describe it if asked. You feel it when a conversation starts flowing differently, when you begin checking your phone more often, when your thoughts return to her without effort, when silence feels heavier than words. That's not attraction increasing, that's uncertainty expanding, and uncertainty is fuel. The mistake men make is trying to resolve that tension too early. They clarify, they reassure, they confess, they ask where they stand. Every one of those moves collapses mystery. And when mystery collapses, so does leverage. The psychological game doesn't reward transparency at the wrong moment. It rewards restraint. Winning doesn't mean dominating. It means not stepping out of alignment. It means letting curiosity breathe instead of suffocating it with availability. When you stop trying to prove intent, something interesting happens. The pressure reverses. Questions come to you. Attention reorganizes around your presence. And suddenly, the same behaviors that once felt confusing start working in your favor. This is where most men panic, because silence feels like loss when you don't understand its function. But silence isn't absence, it's space. And space forces movement. The one who breaks it first is rarely the one in control. And here's the part no one tells you. The game ends the moment you stop playing to win approval and start playing to maintain frame. That shift alone changes how you're read. Not louder, not colder, just immovable in your center. From here, the rules change, and most people never notice when it happens. Once you understand that the game is emotional, not logical, everything starts to slow down. Most men rush here. They try to explain themselves, to justify, to prove intent. That's the first mistake. Explanation is submission disguised as honesty. The moment you start clarifying your behavior, you hand over control. She doesn't need answers. She needs reactions. And every reaction feeds the game. Women who play this psychological game are not evil. They are adaptive. They test because tests reveal power. Silence reveals more than words ever will. When you don't rush to respond, when you let a moment hang in the air, uncertainty forms. And uncertainty is where attraction sharpens. The mind fills gaps with intensity. The less you give, the more weight each action carries. Here's what most people miss. The game isn't about winning arguments. It's about controlling emotional pacing. When she pulls away slightly, most men chase. When she challenges subtly, most men defend. You do neither. You observe. You stay grounded. You don't escalate. You don't retreat. You hold your position. That's when the dynamic shifts, not loudly, quietly. She begins adjusting to you instead of the other way around. The tests become softer. The tone changes. Respect creeps in before attraction fully registers, because respect comes first. Always. There's a moment in every interaction where she decides whether you're predictable or dangerous, in the psychological sense. Predictable men are safe but forgettable. Dangerous men are calm under pressure. They don't need to dominate. Their presence already does the work. This is why detachment matters. Not coldness, not cruelty. Detachment from outcome. When you're not trying to get something, your behavior becomes precise, clean, controlled. That control is felt instantly. She may not articulate it, but she reacts to it. The game weakens when you stop trying to win it. When you let her moves pass without resistance. When you respond only when it matters. That's when curiosity replaces manipulation. That's when the frame becomes yours. And once the frame is yours, the game changes rules. At some point, you realize something unsettling. The game isn't emotional, it's structural. Women don't manipulate because they are cruel. They manipulate because attraction responds to tension, contrast, and uncertainty. The moment you become predictable, agreeable, or overly transparent, the polarity collapses. Not because you're weak, but because there's nothing left to read, nothing left to chase. Here's the trap most men fall into. They think clarity creates attraction. They explain their intentions. They justify their behavior. They over-communicate to feel safe. But what this really does is remove pressure. And without pressure, desire goes dormant. The psychological game works like this. Whoever feels less urgency controls the frame. Whoever can walk away without announcing it holds leverage. When you stop needing validation, something flips. Her behavior changes first before her words ever do. She leans in. She tests. She pushes boundaries not to escape you, but to feel where your edge is. And this is where most men fail the test. They react emotionally. They defend. They seek reassurance. Each reaction signals the same thing. I'm invested more than you. The game rewards the opposite. Stillness, pauses, unexplained distance, not silence as punishment, but silence as structure. Notice how powerful people speak less when stakes rise. They don't rush to fill space. They let others reveal themselves. That same principle governs attraction. When you remove immediate access to your thoughts, she fills the gap with imagination. And imagination is far more potent than explanation. This isn't about playing cold. It's about becoming unreadable enough that interest has room to grow. You stop reacting to every message. You stop clarifying every misunderstanding. You let tension exist without resolving it immediately. And that tension rewires the dynamic. The moment she senses you're not trying to win her approval, she starts seeking yours. Not consciously, psychologically. Because the game she was playing suddenly has a new rule. You're no longer playing to please. You're playing to observe. And once that shift happens, the balance quietly moves in your favor. At some point, the game shifts. Not because she decides to change it, but because you do. This is where most men fail, because this is where restraint becomes power. You stop reacting to every signal. You stop rewarding mixed behavior. You stop explaining yourself. And suddenly, the rhythm breaks. Women are highly attuned to emotional patterns. When you follow the expected script, reassurance, pursuit over availability, you become predictable. Predictability kills tension. And without tension, attraction turns into comfort or control. The moment you step out of that pattern, her attention sharpens. Here's the truth most people won't say clearly. Attraction is sustained by uncertainty, not chaos, but controlled unpredictability. When she doesn't know exactly where she stands with you, her mind fills the gap. She starts observing instead of testing, wondering instead of provoking. This doesn't mean being cold for the sake of it. It means being internally anchored. Your mood doesn't swing based on her responses. Your direction doesn't change because she pulls or pushes. You don't rush to clarify silence. You let space exist. When she senses that her usual tactics don't move you, something subtle happens. The power dynamic equalizes. Sometimes it even flips. She begins to invest emotionally, not because you demanded it, but because the uncertainty demands resolution. And here's the key most men miss. You don't confront manipulation directly. You outgrow it. You respond less. You react slower. You choose selectively. This forces her to either meet you at a higher level or disengage entirely. Attraction deepens when a woman feels she must rise to your standard instead of pulling you down to hers. That shift doesn't come from words. It comes from consistent emotional self-control. Once she realizes that attention from you is not guaranteed, that it must be earned through alignment rather than pressure, the game loses its leverage. You're no longer playing to win. You're playing to observe. And observation is where true control begins. At some point, you realize the game was never about attraction. It was about leverage. Attention is the currency, but uncertainty is the weapon. Most men think they are being tested emotionally when in reality they are being measured strategically. Every reaction you give becomes data. Every explanation you offer lowers your position. Every time you rush to clarify, you confirm that you are seeking approval, not respect. The moment you stop trying to win her mood, something shifts. The frame changes. You are no longer reacting inside her reality. You are standing outside of it, observing. This is where the power balance quietly flips. She begins to feel something she can't label. It's not fear. It's not attraction either. It's the discomfort of losing psychological predictability. Women are extremely sensitive to shifts in certainty. When you become emotionally stable but strategically unpredictable, it creates tension, not chaos. Tension, the kind that pulls attention back toward you without effort. Silence, when used correctly, becomes louder than reassurance. Distance, when controlled, becomes more magnetic than pursuit. Here's the part most people miss. You don't withdraw to punish. You withdraw to reset the dynamic. There is no anger in it, no cold revenge, just quiet self-control. When she realizes her usual patterns no longer provoke the expected response, she starts adjusting instead of testing. That's when respect enters the equation. The strongest position is not dominance. It's indifference with intent. You still care, but you are no longer attached to outcomes. That subtle shift is felt immediately. She senses that your validation is no longer guaranteed, and when validation isn't guaranteed, it becomes valuable again. This is why chasing clarity kills attraction. Clarity removes mystery. Mystery creates engagement. When you stop over-explaining, stop over-texting, stop trying to manage her perception of you, the game loses its grip on you. And paradoxically, that's when it starts working in your favor. You don't win by playing harder. You win by playing less but thinking more. By now you understand something most people never grasp. Attraction was never about chasing, proving, or explaining yourself. It was always about positioning. The moment you stopped reacting emotionally, the moment you stopped trying to be understood, something shifted. Not in them, in you. And that shift is what changes the entire game. Women don't consciously sit down and say they want to manipulate. What they test is emotional leverage. They push, pull, withdraw, question, tease, doubt. Not because they are malicious, but because instinctively they are searching for certainty, strength, self-containment. A man who doesn't fracture under pressure. When you react, justify, over-explain, or rush to fix the tension, you give away control. You reveal that their emotional movement dictates your behavior. The psychological game ends the moment you stop playing it on their terms. Silence, restraint, and timing do something powerful. They create space. In that space, imagination takes over. Uncertainty grows. Curiosity deepens. When you don't rush to respond, when you don't chase clarity, when you don't flinch at distance, the dynamic flips. Suddenly, they are the ones filling the silence, reaching, wondering, adjusting. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence became stable enough to stand without their validation. This is where real attraction is born. Not loud, not aggressive, not needy. Calm, grounded, unmoved. Understand this clearly. You don't win by out-manipulating. You win by becoming unreadable to shallow tactics. You win by having a life, a direction, a center that does not bend every time someone tests it. When your value is internal, not negotiated, people feel it before they understand it. And once they feel it, the tests slow down. The disrespect fades, the tone changes. Because the game no longer works on you. If this perspective shifted something in you, don't ignore it. Sit with it. Apply it. And if you want more breakdowns like this, deeper and sharper, let me know. Like the video, leave a comment, and stay close. What comes next builds on this foundation.